Welcome to the Right Focus podcast.
Annually, thousands of 12-years-old and their parents prepare anxiously for months or even years just for one exam they believe will determine their destiny for the rest of their lives. We'll listen to two 12-years-olds share their experience about PSLE as well as their study tips and strategies that you must know. Hi, this is the Right Focus podcast. Today I've invited two guests, Agent Pegasus and MC, who are 12 years old that took their PSLE recently, to share with us about the day they got their PSLE results slip and some advice that you should know.
Hi, I'm Agent Pegasus.
Hi, I'm MC.
Without further ado, let's start the interview. The moment you saw your PSLE result and the 3-digit number, take us through your first reaction and why you felt that way.
When I first saw my result, I was quite disappointed as my goal was 250 and I got a score lower than that, meaning I can't get into my ideal school.
On PSLE result day, when I received my results, I was pretty shocked and very hyped because I received 20 to 30 marks more than I had expected. 20 to 30 marks more than I had expected, which caught me off guard. Due to the current situation with the coronavirus, the paper was easier than usual. And it didn't have any sort of killer papers, but I got much more than what I had actually expected.
What are some thoughts after getting your PSLE results?
My first thought was my score was 2 marks lower than my brother's and how my parents would think when they saw my results slip. The second thing is about my secondary school. At first, I wanted to get into a school with a huge amount of resources. However, my marks is way far from their cut-off point. Hence, I thought of a school near to my house which also have sufficient resources that I needed.
I was quite relieved as this time I could look at schools that I had looked up to, thinking that it was simply just too high for me. However, I was really surprised and I was just grateful that I had worked hard before the examination, especially with the help from my mother in particular.
Share with us what challenges did you face while studying for PSLE?
For me, I faced the problem of time as I started preparing very late and just a mere 10 weeks from the PSLE. And at all costs, I just would like to leave a side note. Try to start revision and studying at the start of the year or the year before, like the year end. Because I started a mere 10 weeks from PSLE, which is actually very pressurous and it's a very dangerous way of studying. Had I started earlier, I could have done better. I also faced the problem of there being many topics to study, which is a very common problem. I use so-called topical pills, which is basically like a topic in a nutshell, keywords, concepts, and understandings, etc. This saves a lot of time instead of going through notes, assessment books, and every worksheet. This also sheds light on the importance of note-taking in class, as this will shed light and emphasis on key concepts and information. You can do so as you listen in class, or let's say after the teacher explains a certain concept, you write it the way you would like and the way you understand. As explained, you can write simple things such as the concepts, keywords, key phrases, and put it in a nutshell, which hence it will not take too much time, and you can also, it's enough for revision, hence you don't need to go through too many notes, too many etc., and you don't need to spend as much time. It'll be much easier.
One challenge that I faced was I didn't have enough confidence in myself. Although I did well in prelims, but when I was doing other schools' prelim papers, there was a huge difference in the marks, causing my confidence level to drop, and whenever I revised, I would always feel discouraged and wanted to quit. Another challenge was I was oftenly distracted. Although listening music can help me distress, but sometimes I'm too into the music that I'm distracted.
How did you overcome those challenges?
For the first challenge, I would listen to some music, helping me feel better. And for the second question, I will not listen to music when I'm doing papers so as to not get distracted.
What is your strongest subject and how do you study it?
Maths is by far my strongest subject. I usually don't study for it, but this time for PSLE I did. As I was aware that others did not study for their strongest subject, thinking that they would do well as usual, but did badly and got a low, like a B or a low A. I avoided a similar fate as I have worked as hard for math as my other subjects. This is how I performed by getting my A star. Now, in terms of tuition, I feel that tuition centers like Wang Lao Shi or Mind Structure, Wang Lao Shi for Chinese and Mind Structure for Science, at least for me, they have good notes for revision, like keywords, phrases, and concepts for Mind Structure, and for Wang Lao Shi they provide a huge list of phrases. These are the two tuitions that I had gone for.
As I always speak Chinese at home and I go for a Chinese tuition, hence my strongest subject is Chinese. Sometimes I will read some Chinese books such as 16岁我们的成年礼 and 奥乔亚城堡. When I came across some idiom, I would try to remember them and think of a theme that could be used in compo or a memorable story. As when there is a familiar theme or story, I would remember them and use it.
Do you have any study tips or strategies for any subject you would like to share?
For science, I recommend using words such as hence, thus, causing, therefore. And when there is a relationship statement, use as something increases or decreases, something increases or decreases. For the variables, copy the question's variable, but remember the cause and effect. For math, every question ask yourself which formula you are using, whether it is model drawing, before and after, or grouping. For percentage questions, think which number is related to 100%.
Work hard, but don't forget that you also have to work smart. For example, too many tuitions can be tiring. If too many hours is spent studying or in tuition, etc., and you aren't picking up anything, stop and rest. This is to make working productive and not to waste time. If you can't handle so many tuitions, perhaps think about cutting down on tuitions, taking less hours on tuitions, or getting more rest. Because even if you work hard and you're not picking up anything, then you're not working smart. You can also sleep earlier and or longer in order to concentrate better. Within a week from the first paper, which is my recommendation, make sure to rest early and long, but not too long until you can sleep on time the next day. For how long varies from person to person, which I recommend you sort of figure out how long it is well before the examination. Pumping too much work within a few days of PSLE might or might not help that much, depending on the different person. And it might put more pressure, and can't let you, the student, sleep. In my opinion, have you covered the topic well and early on? There's no need to put pressure on yourself and should just relax. Only if you're rushing and haven't completed revision, although try at all costs not to do this as it's not easy to manage and it's very pressureless and does not do well for your mental health. Okay? Just remember the topical pills if this is the situation. On the day of the paper, don't think or look at the topic at all. Just know that you have prepared for the paper well and that you will try your best. Also note that for subjects that you have never studied for it, even if you always get like an A star or 400. For me, my English gets B or a low A. I spent just a few days and got a safe A, which I suspect is a high A. Just imagine if I had prepared for it early on and longer. If I had studied not last minute, then I would have done much better. After the exam, what you have is what you have. There's nothing that you can do about it. And just know that you have tried your best. Everyone has different talents, and you might find your great ability or gift in another field or sector. And maybe not academically.
Do you have anything you want to say to students taking PSLE?
Students taking PSLE, don't be afraid of the expression of the examiner who are testing you oral. Although they may look fierce or unhappy, just try your best. The expression doesn't mean your mark. Try your best and don't be too stressed. Good luck for those.
Students, just relax. But still take PSLE seriously. Not like just any other exam. Know the importance and know that the next 4, 5 or 6 years depends on how hard that you work now. You can't say that you wish that you had worked harder after PSLE or after PSLE results day, as you can no longer do anything. This might be just another milestone in life. If you don't do well, like I said, you have other gifts probably waiting somewhere else or in secondary school. Don't worry too much, like your whole life is going to be over or it's over. Students, inform your parents if you can't focus and need a break. And if your parents don't understand, then you might find a way to help yourself instead of needing your parents to help you. Don't take advantage, as you might never get the rest if you use it as an excuse to play games, as you may never be able to get the break ever again, even if it's authentic or legitimate in the future. And don't forget, PSLE is about working hard, but also working smart.